I'm going to hit start one, star one.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, welcome everybody to the February edition of the Recruiting Insider. And I see a lot of folks that are just signing in. I think we're right at 10 a.m., so we're going to keep talking. This will just be the intro part anyway, but I mean, the count of attendees is just exploding right this second. So we'll let that continue to happen. We got Matt Lee standing by, ready to give us the Ramsey Minute portion of the presentation. Matt, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Kelly. Matt. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. So, hey, Matt, by the way, I want to give a shout-out. You and I give a shout-out to Brian Lagana, the director of the American Trucking Association Safety Management Council. I saw him in the attendee list a few minutes ago. Brian, we'll be seeing you March 27th through the 29th at the planning meeting. Looking forward to that. And folks, if you're Brian was a guest speaker previously on the Recruiting Insider call, and the Safety Management Council at the ATA is absolutely phenomenal. And I've got to tell you, the folks that you meet there, your peers that are there, are among the absolute best in the industry. The only person missing is you. Actually, I just made that up as I said it, Matt. Was that pretty good right there? Was that like, Matt, you got to quit muting yourself.
I think you nailed it. Sure.
There you go. That last part, the only one person missing is you. I thought that was pretty creative. Hey, guys, you can tell I'm in the mood today. We're going to have some fun. But seriously, American Trucking Association, you guys, if you're not a part of the Safety Management Council, you check it out. It truly is a phenomenal council, and truly the people that are there are everybody I've met, just they're top shelf. They're leaders in this industry. So Brian, welcome to the cast today. I know I've got you muted because you're one of the attendees, but I saw your name, wanted to give you a shout out. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Man, we are up against Louisville Truck Show coming up the 23rd to the 25th. Matt and I were just discussing that, folks. For the first time in 15 years, I'm going to miss the Louisville Truck Show. And so I will not be there. But Matt has teed up some conversation regarding booths and being successful at shows, and so I'm going to let him get right into that because he's got some really cool slides here. But I also want to, if you haven't gone out and checked out recruitingsessions.com, those are educational videos that Matt has done. They will keep you on the edge of your seat, and I mean they're educational and they are entertaining as well. So they keep you on the edge of your seat, and with me, I had to watch every single one of them because I wondered what in the world this guy was going to do next. So anyway, there's a picture of Matt. You understand this guy is a card when you really get to know him. With that being said, Matt, I am turning it over to you.
I appreciate it, Kelly, and thanks for everybody who's joining us today. It looks like we still have some folks signing up. You know, and I get asked this time of year a lot of times, how is the best way for me to be able to put together a booth? And, you know, we have Matt's coming up in just a few weeks, like Kelly mentioned. But we also have opportunities across the country with different job fairs, whether that be through local radio stations, or a lot of your communities are putting on job fairs. And so I kind of wanted to just take this time and give you some tips of how to get your trade show into shape. And our first thing that we need to do is we need to start at the finish. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's what we need to do. And what I mean by that is we have to know your why and your what. And so your why, basically what you need to do before you ever go is to clarify your precise reasons for going and get specific so that then you can set your what, which are your goals. And I always recommend to carriers that you set those measurable goals. An example would be we're going to talk to 200 drivers before we leave. Or we're going to get, 50 applications into our ATS system. Whatever that goal is, make sure that you know that going in. It's going to help you have a lot better event in the end. And the second thing that you need to do is know that this is running a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so there are a couple things that you need to do in order to make it a successful marathon. And one is you need to start early enough. You need to be able to secure a good position. So I see a lot of carriers, and especially in MATS, we have, you know, the recruiting pavilion that's there. We have some that are in better locations than others. And so make sure that you get out there and you get that good position secured. You need to choose a rallying cry. In other words, what's your message? What's your message going to be? You need to draft and train your team and train them on that message and what it's going to be. And lastly on this is get your gear. You have to be prepared for a marathon. You have to be prepared for a show as well. And so get your gear, get it early. Avoid those rush charges for both, you know, production and shipping. I have so many carriers that we work with that if you know, they're wanting logoed pins and even the booths themselves. And we wait until the last minute because we're working with marketing departments and you know, things going back and forth. And so I always recommend that we get a good jump on that so that we avoid those rush charges. And so the third thing that I want to tell you today is that we need to fix the game, not like these guys did back in 1919 in the World Series. 8 of the players actually were accused of fixing the World Series and were known as the Black Sox. And so I don't mean it by fix the game like these guys, but there are a couple things that you can do before the show to set and fix the game. One is you've got to bus in your own fans. And what I mean by that is pre-schedule as many meetings as you can. So if you're talking to specific drivers or candidates that are going to be in that specific area, let them know, hey, I'm going to be at this particular show. I'd love you to come by. Love for you to come by and visit us at the booth. It's just kind of an informal way to kind of let everybody let their guard down a little bit, you know, and have that conversation with them. Or barnstorm, which, you know, basically promote the event in advance to your target audience. So you're actually going to do advertising campaigns that are going to target that specific area. Lastly, what I want to talk about is we have to keep your leads. You know, you have to be able to record those leads without delay, so make sure you have some way to capture that information. You have to make contact within a day if possible after, because these people have visited so many different booths and talked to so many people. Make that contact. Figure out how to get that done within that day. And then also create a plan with follow-up. And I recommend doing that regularly. So that's through email blast, text blast, voice blast, or just pick up the phone and call them. Just be sure and follow up with them. And that's really the 4 tips that I had today as far as getting your show season ready. And thank you again for allowing me this time to share that information with you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Kelly. Are you there, Kelly?
Man, I was talking, but I had myself muted. I was blowing and going. Sorry about that. Hey, so, you know, going back to trade shows before I get into the basic human needs section, so many times people will have a booth in the back of their booth area, and then they have a table in the front, and then they're sitting in chairs behind that table. So people walk by and they look at the table. Even at Louisville, we all know this. I mean, especially on Saturday, they'll have wagons set up wherein they just scrape the stuff off the table into their wagons, never even look at you. I'm about putting the table in the back of the booth where your stand-up is, and you be in front of that table. If somebody wants a goodie off that table, it is given to them by me, and it's given to them because we've had a worthwhile interaction. So, you know, inviting people in, give them a place to sit down. And you know, I have some of the cheap stuff on top of the table. We've got the good stuff under the table. And Jeff Capps, it's kind of like when you go to your local establishment, they keep the good stuff under the bar. Just saying that, sir. And just a little shout out to Jeff Capps there. He's been on every one of our Recruiting Insider calls. So he was asking me for a beverage before the show started, and so we've been having a little tongue in cheek there. But you know, the good stuff underneath the table, and so you know, this guy does an application, or we've got a specific track plan of action built with them, then maybe give them something special. So, but don't set up your booth with the table right against the walkway and you hiding behind that table. You know, I was watching one. You know, I really thought about videotaping at these shows. And you can see some people sitting behind their tables thinking, you know what, I'm not getting anything out of the show. And then you go to other booths where they have it set up like I'm talking, and they're standing up, and they're engaging with people. You've got to be the first to show yourself friendly. So you see somebody walking along, address them. Hey, how you doing? Hey, we're looking for drivers in this area. You know, whatever it is that you're comfortable saying and that is appropriate, and that makes the difference to the results that you're going to get out of the show. So last month we started with the basic human needs of security and freedom. So this month we're going to continue with part 2 of that, and we're going to start with exchange. Now, if you remember, last month I told you if you Google basic human needs, you're going to find about 9 different basic human needs. These are psychological human needs, but I talk about typically 4 of them, and that would be the security. Whoops, I went too far, Matt. Security and freedom, which we did last month, and now we're going to talk about exchange and acceptance. I think this is very applicable to drivers. So drivers with the basic human need for exchange have they want to have valuable conversations. These are the people, when they're on your lot, they're going to be in your office. These are the guys that are going to call you. They want to be an insider, and they want conversations wherein they feel like important information was given and received. This one, when you know, how many times, I got to believe people in this room have had or in this webinar have had a driver that came into your office today, and you're having a conversation, and this would be the driver that you usually, you know, kind of keep them on the inside scoop, and he keeps you or she keeps you on the inside scoop, and you know something's going to be announced tomorrow, and you can't say a word about it. When that happens, you know you're going to get a call tomorrow from this person. I was in your office yesterday, and you didn't tell me. And you know, hey, John, you know, my answer is this. John, you know I tell you everything that I can tell you, but I'm telling you that I was sworn to secrecy. Had I told you that yesterday, I would have been fired today. You got to respect that, man. I tell you as soon as I know and am allowed to say something. And they don't like it, but they'll typically, you know, accept it. So it creates a difficult situation wherein they're like, you didn't tell me ahead of time. They like to be on the inside scoop. So how do we address these folks? First, be available. You have to give them some time. If they walk in, and every time they walk in, you're rushing them out of the office, they're going to feel like you don't care and you don't appreciate them, and they're not going to feel connected. You know, people get committed to people, not committed and connected to people, not to companies. So, you know, don't tell them that they can't call in. You know, when we went to satellite communications to start pushing the drivers to use the satellite system and quit calling, we started just telling them, you can't call in. Fleet managers started saying, don't call me, use the satellite. We started beating up fleet managers for talking too long on the phone to their drivers. And folks, our turnover rate started going through the roof. Those days are gone. I mean, now, you know, if I'm a driver manager, when I have an initial meeting with my drivers, you know, first off, you guys, I think you've heard me talk about this, I'm about saying to recruiting, hey, who are you going to put on my board? Who's going to be an orientation on Monday that's going to be on my board? is I would like to call them this week. So I'm going to call them this week and start building that relationship with the driver. Hey, I'm going to be your fleet manager. I just wanted to call you, say hello. Do you have any questions? And, man, listen, while you're in orientation, come by and see me. I'll forward my phone. I want to buy you a cup of coffee and get to know you. And then during that conversation, of course, I get to know them, and I share my specific expectations of the driver, and I share what he can expect from me. So, and then during that, I tell him, you know what, when it comes to regular old trucking stuff, I'm here at the consignee and the rolling and all this stuff, do it on the satellite. But when you need to call me, call me. Because that way, if you do the satellite message, and everybody else does the satellite for the regular trucking stuff, and when you need to call me, I'll be available to answer the phone. But if everybody's calling in, you're going to sit on hold while I get through all the phone calls. So don't tell them that they can't call in. Don't lock them out of the office. It was interesting. We put a big old multi-million-dollar security system when I was at CFI, and the drivers were supposed to come through my department. My department had the receptionist there to get into safety, and lo and behold, drivers were walking around. And, Bruce would call me and say, Kelly, well, how'd these guys get in the building? Why aren't they escorted? And I'm like, Bruce, they did not come through here. Well, how'd they get in? I said, I don't know. He said, figure it out. That was Bruce's number one best answer for me. Figure it out. I was like Dick Tracy. So one day, I was standing in the foyer in the front, and I walked out of my office, left my key on my desk, and there I was in the foyer. And of course, we didn't have a reception there. We had a phone, and which that's lots of folks do that, and budget cuts and whatever. But so I'm calling people, nobody's answering. I can't get in, so I'm waiting for somebody to walk by the hallway or answer the phone so they can let me back in the building. And here comes R.C. Ryberg. And I thought to myself, man alive, he sure walked a long way around here. He could have just come in the back door. R.C. walks in the foyer. He says, let's go, Kelly. And I'm like, well, I'd like to, R.C., but I forgot my key. He said, no problem. He walks over to the end table, grabs a magazine, goes to the corner where the glass wall met the regular sheetrock wall. There's a little crack there. He flicked that magazine across the hallway. It hit the motion sensor, which released the door. He locked the door open, got the magazine, put it back in place, and said, are you coming with me? So there it is, a multi-million-dollar security system undone by a magazine flipping across a hall. So, why did he go through that trouble? That shows you how powerful the need for exchange is. RC was one of those guys, and he wanted to be on the inside loop, and he came in and talked with us, and you know what? He needed it so bad that he figured out a way to undo our security system. It's just wild, and we had others doing it. And so don't lock them out of the office. And by the way, when we did that, it not only created a problem with the exchange people, but the drivers just felt like an outsider. So we eventually turned all their keys on, their proximity keys, so that during the business hours they could get in to safety and such. And it took a while for us to get them calmed down. That they'd come in and complain that we had locked them out of the building. And I'm like, well, hey, by the way, you used the same key to get in that I used, so you're not like that anymore. And eventually, that settled down, but they were sure riled up for a while. By the way, these folks are the ones that you can use to feed the rumor mill. It was interesting. I was at Daymart Transportation years and years ago, and Kim Hill walked in and said, would somebody check on this driver? And they're like, well, yeah, he's here. He's actually in the driver's lounge. He says, I know. He was in the driver's lounge in Florida yesterday. So how was he holding court in the driver's lounge in Florida yesterday? And now I fly home last night. And now he's sitting in the driver's lounge in Arkansas. Those are the people with exchange. So use them to pass the word. And if you do share with them, they'll be very connected with you. So very powerful. The next is basic human need for acceptance. These are drivers that will send in the Qualcomm message and then call and make sure you got it. These are the drivers that if you try to have a conversation and you don't take a few moments for, hey, how you doing? and or you hear their voice, it's like they have a cold or something, and hey man, it sounds like you're a little stopped up today. You feeling all right? Having that type of conversation with them is very powerful. If you try to rush them, if you bring conversation from or bring stress from the previous conversation to this conversation, they'll think, man alive, you're upset. And for instance, let's just say you rush the call. They're going to feel like, man alive, you don't, what's going on? Is everything good between us? So literally, if you rush the call, hey, listen, let me give you your load. Here it is, blah, 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 and hang up. They're going to call back and say, hey, man, you okay? You kind of rushed the call there. You upset with me? They need to feel accepted. So they need that a few moments of small talk, that relationship talk before we get to the business. And of course, I also say on this one as well, don't lock them out of the office. Folks, the reason I came up with these basic human needs in research was because I was having trouble identifying a smoking gun from some driver surveys that I was doing, and looking at turnover causation, and I'm like, what? Why are these guys leaving? And that's when this came to mind. And as I mentioned in the last section, or this came up to, I guess, to mind. I became aware of it through my research. In the last section, I talked about where we blew the drivers with the basic human need for security. We just blew that once and had hundreds of drivers quitting because they thought we were going out of business. Whenever we'd make more new rules, whenever we put satellite communications in, now you have drivers that you're trying to put in, forward-facing cameras, and they don't want the cameras in their trucks. Why is that? Because they feel like their freedom is being taken away. And so now we have exchange. And of course, we went to satellite communications, and with drivers with exchange, that negatively impacted them, and acceptance, because they weren't getting that communication that they were looking for. So you have to be very mindful of this, because it will absolutely cause you turnover if you're not thinking in terms of, these are people, they do have feelings, and these are psychological human needs that if they're not being met, they will find another employment. And by the way, so they'll have one that's a major, and then they'll have maybe another one or two that are secondary. So not everybody has the basic human need for security, at the level that others do. But I think we all do like to feel like, hey, we're safe and sure in our job. We're going to be able to pay our bills, take care of our family. I have that as a need, but it's not my top need, obviously, since I, am an entrepreneur and literally, quit my corporate job and a regular paycheck to start my own company 19 years ago. So it's different. We all have them, and we have them at different levels. With that being said, I'm actually through with the talking points. I'm shocked at that. Matt, I don't know if you're able to still be on the line, or if you had to bail. By the way, if you have any questions, now's a great time to shoot them over to me. I want to tell you this. The next Recruiting Insider call is March 22nd at 10 a.m. And it's going to be, and this is a tongue tire, but folks, this topic has come as a result of the management coaching that I do, and also it's frankly just one of the ways that I live life, and that is purposefully planning for intentional success. We all want to be successful. Many people don't want to put the effort into being successful. So this is taking it to the next level, wherein I'm saying we're going to purposefully plan for our intentional success, not hoping that it accidentally happens. By the way, a little shout out to Kent Ferguson, head of Higher Rights Transportation Division. Kent, welcome. And I just saw your name on the list. Hey, let me see. Any advice on what location is best for a booth at the show? Matt, are you standing by?
I am.
Can you answer? Go ahead.
Absolutely, and every show is going to be a little bit different, but You know, you want to just make sure that you know where the traffic flow is coming in. So you want to make sure that you understand the entrance points and the exit points. And you want to make sure that you're within that flow of traffic. You don't want to be back in the back. You know, sometimes corners are better than others, depending on where that flow is coming in. But you have to kind of look at the traffic flow overall. My recommendation would be to print it out and examine, okay, so they're going to enter here and they're going to exit here. And so if you do that and you do that homework, you'll be able to see without a doubt where a good booth versus a bad booth will be.
Yeah, you know, at Louisville, you can definitely get into corners, and there's parts that you just don't get much foot traffic there. You know, I would think in the west wing where that food area is. Now, I think they've mainly turned that into a lot of the Chinese auto parts stuff, you know, is over there now. But in the big hall, you know, we all know those couple 2-3 middle rows get just incredible traffic. At the same token, when you're thinking about Louisville, you have the other wing, which is products and stuff. And if you have a way to get yourself plugged in over there, I mean, that's where Mercer's at every year. And when you talk about busting in your fans, holy cow, they have Mercertown, and they are definitely busting in their fans. Matt, what do you see as a great giveaway at the shows?
You know, that's a good question. Honestly, it's you have to think about the driver and think about what it is that they use. You know, we have I've seen a little bit of everything. Back scratchers are, believe it or not, were a hit for one of our customers. We actually did that, and they put their logos on these back scratchers, and they had people actually searching them out. So something unique, you know, not just a pin or a bag, or, you know, you see a lot of people doing those kind of things. Think outside the box. And there are a lot of really cool out-of-the-box ideas that you can use and get today and put your logo on. So my recommendation would be not just going with the old traditional standby, but work with somebody who is a creative thinker and look through. There are multiple different avenues that you can find these types of things, whether it be through catalogs or doing a simple online search. But find something that's unique and stands out. And I promise you, if you do that, you will have people coming back to your booth just for that specific item.
Well, and one thing that I think is a home run is gloves. You know, look at that. Every year, Progressive has that bring this ticket and get a pair of gloves, and everybody is going to the Progressive booth. So gloves, and you can logo those, and so they're wearing your gloves as they're doing their pre-trip inspections and stuff. Flashlight, a good flashlight.
Yep.
Because they need those things. So I think about it. If I'm going to invest in a giveaway, I want to invest in a giveaway the driver's going to use, not something he's going to go, oh, that's cool, and then maybe give it to his kid or throw it in the corner, you know, at the end, but something they want and they're going to use every day. And so those are a couple of things that come to mind quickly for me. And you know, another question that's out there is staying motivated, staying energized. You know, first off, it comes down to the person. Your folks have got to be excited to be there. You know, people ask me all the time, Kelly, how do you stay so pumped up, so excited, you know, when you're doing seminars, doing this over and over again? Well, it's because I love what I do. And the other thing is I love helping people. And so when I'm helping companies to find the drivers that they need and grow their fleet, folks, when I help you be more successful, that's what does it for me. And so, by the way, with that in mind, if you ever want to shoot me an email and say, hey, by the way, this was useful to me. Hey, Kelly, I used this technique and it helped me. Any of that stuff, then I would appreciate that. And, you know, Chris Anderson, my twin brother from another mother, just sent in a comment, says it's a choice. It's also a choice, and absolutely to that question about staying energized. So first off, I would say it's a choice, and it's your attitude. Number two is get the table behind and be there. You know, people have their elevator face on. So they got that I don't want to talk to you look, because you know why? Because they're uncomfortable. And I see that in booths, and I see it in the people walking by the booth. But look at the booths where people are engaged and having fun, and don't just stand there with a handful of gloves. Hey, you want a pair of gloves? You want a pair of gloves? So people just take your gloves and keep going. That's going to be on the table behind me. They're going to come talk to me for that. But just reaching out, hey, how you doing today? Hey, just want you to know we're looking for owner operators in this area. If you're looking, you know. However, and I didn't rehearse that that talk there. But the other, Eric, would be to have schedules. So give your folks a chance to rotate out and go see the show themselves and walk around. You know, Jeff says, I let nobody pass my booth without a smile and a greeting, just a way to start a conversation. You know, absolutely. Folks, at the shows, we have got to be extroverts. With that being said, folks, to all of you that are going to be at Louisville, I apologize that I am not going to make it this year. I won't have a weekend off until sometime in April. Just things have exploded with doing conferences and seminars and consulting around the country and Canada, frankly. So I'm going to miss this year's Louisville. I have every intention to make Dallas. But with that being said, we're out of time. Purposefully planning for intentional success. The topic for March 22nd. Matt, thank you again for a great job. Folks, we have over almost 700 people registered for our webinar now. And thank you for helping this audience to grow. And I'll see you next month, if not before. Bye-bye.